Okay, hello and welcome to this session. Um, Good evening, everyone. I see Asia, Tijo Thomas. I think that's the new to me, Tijo. And Sadat is just coming in, and Samu and the rest. I think I'm just going to wait for a couple of minutes so the others can transition from the first class to this class. Oh, Rahul is there. Pio. Um, I'm excited about the session. I know a lot of you went through it, and it's going to be very hot this evening, I suppose. And yeah, good evening, everyone. George coming in, and yeah, good evening, Pio. Pio is a very noble name. Um, do you know what Pio means? What does it mean anyway? Yeah, pure and like pious, and it's pure. Somebody who is, pure. Somebody who is pious. Somebody who is good. I hope you're good anyway. Well, that was just the side of the class, and I hope everybody had a copy of the case and actually went through the case. Yeah, Pio is an Italian saint, Padre Pio. So he was a nice man, incorruptible. Okay, great. So I can someone remind us the two questions that I posted yesterday? Well, not actually, but I pasted on your screen yesterday. Can somebody remind us of the two questions? Because I asked you to copy them down. Okay, the first one is talking about guiding principles of good governance that the Grand Pradhan Sohan Lal office. So we're going to start with that question. Then the second question, how he managed, how did he effectively manage the village affairs without formal education in management? So we're going to look at these two questions to give us a base on which we can judge whether or not his management was good. And then at the end of it, we're going to look at different ways to he would have used to manage the situations better. So first of all, let's go to the first question. What are the guiding principles of good governance that Sohan Lal has offered? So can you give us some of those guiding principles? That is, things that can help us to be able to govern in these kind of situations. Okay, it says never give up. Okay, that's a point. I think I should write on your answers on the somebody says never give up. Okay, next. Now again, anyway, we'll come to more detailed analysis. Hope for the good. Okay, hope for the better. Hope for better. Okay. Yeah, Mohammed. come up with different approach. Okay, he says we can come up with different approaches. What again? No, but can you defend everything you're saying? Because we are not just talking. We are actually presenting the things he did, and we can always go back to the case to support our points. Are you sure you can do that? All of the points you've raised up, can you defend it with the case? Can you give us instances where these things actually happened? Anthony says trial and error was also a method he tried. Trial and error? Okay, which area are you talking about trial and error? And Prabhu says if it won't work, it do trick. But it's pretty. Yeah, good evening, Riyadh. Okay, let me take my video away so we can focus on the class. Okay, he tried laborers but failed. Then okay, laborers but failed, and then JCB again failed. So, but how is that a principle that guides us? Okay, seeking opportunity in every angle. Yeah, to an extent that's true. So now let me take the question again all over. So what are the guiding principles of good governance? That is, what are the things Sohanlal did that can guide us to become good managers as well? You get it? So what are the things he did that we can use as guidelines to also help us in the way we manage, we govern? So that is what the question is asking. So you list those things, and then you can even add a little bit of instances from the case to defend it. He never wanted to give up, okay? Generally in life, we shouldn't give up. And George says Sohanlal worked through informal meetings. That's the point. That's the point. Informal meetings. Okay, informal meetings. What again? He was trying to provide better life by providing drinking water. Okay, so what's the principle behind it? This is actually true because that is one of the things he did. So what principle would you attach this to? And that's what I'm looking for now. I think there are lots of things. I prepared a kind of my own view of it, because soon somebody's going to ask you, sir, what about you? What do you think? I'm going to give a few things and then link it to the case, but I want to see how you can come up independently with some of the things. Okay, and then Monachin George says watching projector-based movies. Okay, watching projector. That's true. So is that a guiding principle for us all if we have to be good, if we have to practice good governance? He used the worker for repairing road instead of wasting time. Okay. Now, I believe what most of you are giving, you're trying to give examples of these things, but I'm looking for the principle. Okay, let's look at what I have on the on my screen. And then I'm going to give a couple of instances from the case so you can see how I defend it. For example, this is the question: what are the guiding principles of good governance that the Grand Prada Sohanlal offers? And the first thing I said is seeking advice. When you look at the case, he seeks advice, which means it's a good principle that if we are also going to practice good governance, it's important for us to seek advice from the people we work with. So he does that, and in the case, it's very visible. You can see that in a lot of instances. For example, he consulted villagers regarding the functioning of the panchayat, that is the community, and rural development matters. He doesn't do that alone. We can get that from the case. So I'm going to answer the first question, and I'm not going to answer the second and the third question. So I just want to give you a guide and set the ball rolling. The next thing he does is that he place a lot of importance on service rules. For example, the education of villagers about various government schemes, such as the provision of government scholarship for school-going children. So he does that. He goes from house to house and educate the people. The case tells us that. So he's playing a service role. He doesn't sit in his office and expects to be served. Rather, he plays a service role in the society. And the next thing is admittance. That is, making efforts towards arrangement of drinking water for all villagers, irrespective of their social position. There's a lot of social divide in that community, but he doesn't look at this social divide. He goes to the problem and tries to satisfy everyone. The next is courteousness. What does it mean to be courteous? That is, he treats people with respect and even involves young people. Now, if you go through the case, he invites Mahinda. Do you remember Mahinda? Mahinda is the youngest son of the elder in the Prachaya. You remember, right? Good. The MBA guy. He's very young, but he gives him the respect. He invites him to the meeting. So that's very cautious. And then the next thing he tries to make us to understand is he focuses on enlightenment. For example, he keeps the villagers updated on various matters and imparting training for entrepreneurial ventures. Now, when you go back to the case, they talked about computer knowledge, and very few people were able to load data into the government data system. But again, he goes further to train more people on his own. The rest of the people he trained were not part of the government's fund. So he did that on his own, which is something very good and enlightened. And then he's honest. He's honest and sincere. That he holds open door meetings with villagers on a regular basis. So he does things in a very open and honest way, not behind doors, having second hidden agendas and stuff like that. And then there is also rectification. He teaches us to rectify things, attempts to find a remedy for the drinking water. Somebody talks about he never gives up. Yeah, that falls under rectification. If something fails or if something doesn't work well, he insists to get a solution. And if it's not effective enough, he tries to make it better. And then he values finance a lot. He gives a lot of value of finance. For example, he tried to convince the JCB machine owner to employ the JCB for another project because he didn't have money. But again, he knew that the owner needed money and the society needed the JCB service. So he tries to strike a very genuine deal. Now, you look at these are some of the things, guiding principles he's teaching us. Now, this is what I expected from you in the first question. Now with this, I've done my part. I'm not going to answer the second question anyway. I might add a couple of things to it. But the second question is, how did Sohan Lal effectively manage village affairs despite no formal education and management? Now, I want you to support your answers with specific situations from the case. Now, let's listen to who's coming up first. How did he do that? No MBA, no formal education and management like you are having right now, but yet he was able to do that. Interaction with people, that's good. That is interacting with people and learning from people, that's very good. Theo? Now, those who read the case, I'm sure you saw a lot of exciting things in the case. And how did you do that? Okay, and P also adds, he says, as he is the leader of the youth. Okay, he said he brings the MBA man on board. Good, that's fine. He uses young people as well who have certain skills, certain ability to do things. Like Mahinda, he brings him on board because he accepts, he acknowledges that he doesn't know everything. So he needed to, get into the young people to be able to influence other young people. That's a good appeal. I'm sure you had a nice day today. And then trying different methods. Okay, yeah, that's true. He tries different methods. Where is everyone? Pio is okay. Saratu says, well, tries. I think that's what you want to say. Alternative methods if one fails. Okay, he tries alternative methods. If the approach or the method he decides to use doesn't work. And Prabha says the product trained many field workers. Yeah, that's true. He did that, especially in the computer and the data uploading section. Okay, Sarata got that. Rahul says, I think he works by his heart, not his head. Well, that's a good thing. He uses his instinct. That's a good point, Rahul. He uses his instinct. He works with his heart. He follows his heart, not his head. And Pierce says, all the field workers did not get computer training. Then he brings one of his friends. Okay, that's the secretary that he invited to train the rest of the other workers to be able to upload the data because there were so many data to be uploaded and the few people who were trained couldn't handle it. So that he decided to do. But again, let's look at it. Good improvisation, okay? He improvises on things. I think something is coming from Samuel. Now, if you did not read the case, now this is, I think this is the most, one of the most important parts we should pay attention to. Let's see, Samuel says he arranged to watching project-based movies. Okay, that's good. He watches project-based movies to learn. That is self-education. That's good. And then Prabhupada says mainly he has good intention to develop the village, and he tried to everything possible to develop the village. And that's it. George says facilitates setting up various self-help groups and training. That's also good. And then Pio says arrange awareness, creating awareness among people. Okay, visit homes. That's good to have hands-on experience of what the people are going through. And then build incoming generation, generating micro enterprises that improve livelihood and security. Yeah, he was concerned about that as well, which was good. But again, let's look at what the question is asking. So how did he effectively do this? Some of you have given very wonderful responses to this question, but we've jumbled it with other views. Let me look at what I have. I think I just wrapped it up. He believes in a simple, creative problem-solving approach to tackle grave matters. This is how, now, you see the way I put it. How did Sohan Lal effectively manage village affairs? He did that because he believes in a simple, creative problem-solving approach. You get it? Yeah, the JCB is something very creative from his side. He thought about it. There is no way he was going to get the fund, but again, he was very creative and he puts it in a very simple way. Now, another way he succeeded to good win-win situation. That's very good, Theo. Now, another way he succeeded is he follows his basic instinct, like I think it's George who said that. He follows his basic instinct and confidently relies upon impromptu solutions. He doesn't do a lot of analysis. He just follows his heart. He follows his instinct and trusts in it. Because there is a problem if you don't trust in your instinct. The outcome usually is different from what you expect. And the third is he uses the Indian management way of management, which we talked about yesterday, Jugaad. I was expecting someone to tell me that, but nobody talked about the Jugaad. Hey, guys. Okay, I want to say a little bit about Jugaad before I talked a bit about it yesterday. But if you go deep into the history of Jugaad, I don't know if there is anybody who did any research on Jugaad. Can you tell me a little bit how it started? Where is the origin? What does it mean, Jugaad, from the Indian traditional context? Did anybody have the time to go through that, maybe Google it or do some research? Okay, let's see what Prabha says. He says he helped out for drinking water, installing hand pumps. Yeah, that's good. These are some of the things he did. How he solved problems in a very simple and creative way. And you can always relate this, for example, when the funds were not enough to build concrete road, he finally settled to build gravel roads, which is very simple. You don't complicate things. So most of the problems we're facing is how we complicate the solutions. But he's very simple and creative as well. And Samo says jugad means to arrange. Yeah, to an extent that's true. It means to arrange. Anybody else with doing more with less? I gave this yesterday. That's true, George. Street machines, yeah. Tijo, can you tell us something? I think this sounds very interesting. Street machine, what Tijo says. Thomas, you've said something which is very important. I'd like you to say a little bit more on that. Prabha says, no research on jugad. Oh, sorry about that. Elaine says it could mean any creative or out-of-the-box thinking. That's very true, Elaine. Very, very true. Basically, it's simple. Let's see what Tijo says again. It's operated with hands. Yeah, I have a photo of an example of jugad. You just look at my screen. Okay, let's see. Well, Nixon sent something big. It says jugad, alternatively jugad, or yugad, alternative jugad is a colloquial Hindi or Urdu word that can mean an innovative fix or a simple workaround used for solutions that bend rules, or a resource that can be used as such, or a person who can solve a complicated issue. It is used as okay. That's good. That's very true. That's wiki. You go to okay. From my own research, the concept of jugad from the Indian way is the Indian way of management. It draws its root from rural India. In fact, jugad is a locally made motor vehicle that is used in small villages as a means of cheap transportation. I think there is an example of a jugad. Do you recognize this? I'm sorry, the photo is a little bit blurred, but do you recognize this? I hope you can see my screen anyway. Yeah, the basic rule is simple and cost effective. You know, it is a Hindi word that refers to an improvised arrangement, you know, an innovative fix or a simple workaround that yields results even with scanty resources. Even if you have very little resources, you should be able to get results out of it. You know, as a matter of fact, it is the one word answer to the question, why does India work? Simple, jugad. So if you ask the question, why does India work? The simple answer is jugad. So, you know, understanding of jugad may be strengthened, you know, based if you go to the deep, you know, local origin of and context of the word. Again, let me go back to my. So he used a lot of jugad. He looks like a tractor. Tractor with trailer, and let me see what you guys have been saying so far. Okay, yeah, that's true. You know, one thing I like with most developing countries, and it's their ability to solve problems creatively. But you don't be surprised that the world today is relying on jugad. Many corporates, many companies around the world are relying so much on jugad. They prefer managers who are very creative, simple in their approach. They can do more with less. It helps. It's very cost effective for companies. So it's an Indian management style. But again, so many companies around the world are starting to use it. So it's something in India is contributing to the world. The modern world is not time consuming. I don't get that. It's not scalable. I don't understand. Maybe I got lost somewhere along the line. Lots of chat have been shifted up. Anyway, now we've looked at the way Sohan Lal effectively managed the village affairs without any formal education. So we said he believes in a simple, creative problem-solving approach to tackle grave matters. He doesn't complicate things. And the next is that he follows his basic instinct and he relies on the jugaad. Now, this is where the hook is. And I'd like everybody to take time, look at it. I believe you all read the questions or the case very well. Now, let's try to answer it. This is when I'm going to have an understanding or have an idea how much you can now do something from this case. This is the question. How could Sohan Lal most effectively deploy the level rural development projects since the MNREGA prohibited the use of machines? Now, in other words, I'm asking, how could he have done these things better? What do you think? From the way he managed the whole situation, that's okay, but how do you think he would have done it better? Now, I'm asking you, put yourself in his shoes. How would you have done it better? Sadatu is very silent today. So all along we've been looking at the way he's been managing the village, but let's look at it now. Put yourself, how would you, as the new leader, manage the situation better? Pio says he could have done a study first. What study? What do you mean by a study first? Okay, you feel this method is more time consuming. That's true. So that is why you're supposed to give an alternative. Again, remember, we are managers. We are no longer followers. We are supposed to bring solutions, not problems. So about the situation of the ponds. Okay, he would have studied the pond first. That's good. He failed to study the pond first before sending the workers there. That's a very, very good point, Pio. That's good. Thanks for that. So what again do you think he would have done that he did not do? Or that he would have done better that he did but didn't do enough? This is where you prove to me and to IMTS and to your friends that you are a manager. So let's listen to the managers. I have about 15 managers on board now. So let's hear what all of you are able to do. Again, take responsibility. Share your thoughts. Let it be criticized in class. It is better to make mistakes in class, be criticized by friends, than to make mistakes out there and lose your job or maybe cause more harm. So say whatever you think, whatever your instinct. Again, use a very simple and creative way to solve the problem. Don't complicate it, and let's see what you got. I'm expecting to hear from everyone at this point. We all saw what the Sohan Lal did. Everything he did, we've seen the results that came out of it, we've seen it. Now, how would you make it better? How do you think it would have been better? If you were in that situation, what would you do? Okay, let's see Pio. Pio says another thing, he could have convinced MNREGA about the dangerous situation of the pond to use the machine. But that's good. But he wrote letters, right, Pio? He wrote letters, but no response. He wrote letters. Why nobody? Yeah, it's a good question. Everybody should be able to say something about it. You're a manager now. Take the village in your hands. Sitara, you are the grand pradhan of Sitara, and you have to manage the village. So what are you going to do? What do you think you would have done to make it better? Sohan Lal did not go to school. Well, not go to school like go to school. I'm talking, when I talk about school, I'm talking about management. He did not have any formal management education. So you have it. You are having it now. So what will make a difference if you were in that same village, Sitara? What would you do? How would you do it better? If you had to advise Sohan Lal, what would you tell him? He didn't have the opportunities most of us have now to attend and have some management training, learn from other people's mistakes like what we're doing through case studies. So how would you advise him? Asiya, I'm waiting. Samuel, Sadatu, Rahul. Sanoba, I'm waiting. George. Kashan. Okay, let's see what Rahul says. Rahul says, telling the label how this situation would affect their children and encouraging them to do this work for good. Okay? You would have done that. But they're saying how a cow, a bull almost drowned. So how do you tell them how it's important? How do you convince them to do that? Phil said he could also have convinced the villagers about the need for drinking water, proper drainage, etc. But the villagers know that. That is why they said they wanted drinking water and they wanted that pond clean. Samuel says workers should be trained. That's a good point. But again, train on what? You've not completed it. You have to complete it. And Prabhu says, I could recommend him to go to put hand pumps in all areas to avoid to make pond. Well, he already tried that. The case tells us that there is not enough groundwater in Sitara. So which means even if you increase the number of hand pumps, you won't have water. That is what the case says, isn't it? There is not enough groundwater in that village. So they don't need so many pumps. I think I read this case about 5 times over. Then Nixon says, bring discipline to labor. Yeah, that's okay. But how do you do that? And let's see what George says. He was flipping through files and found the fund approved for using an excavator loader machine called the JCB for the pond renovation project as per norms of the 13th Finance Commission. After the pond was excavated by machine, MNRE's JE, labor can carry out rest of the work. Yeah, that's true. But again, he got stuck before that. But that is exactly what he did. So how is it different from what you're suggesting? Because whatever we're given should be something different, something new, something he did not do, something he failed to do that he would have done. And let's see what Pio says. Create awareness about drinking water, waste management, danger about the pond, etc. But that's, the people know that. The case tells us that the pond served as, source of drinking water to the, I think, grandparents, and those in the past. But it's now, in a bad state. But just creating awareness, do you think it's enough? Of course, that's very important. I accept the part of creating awareness, maybe educating the entire village, organizing meeting sessions and talking to the people about it. That's very good. But, okay, that's the beginning. Good. Educating the people, that's true. I totally agree. Sadatu is still very silent. Really? I can't hear you today. Francis, Mohammed, Akshata, I think Elena Pacific Nixon has participated. Najjar, TJ participated. I'm expecting to hear lots of new ideas. Do you want me to share my own views? Maybe I'll be cheating, George says pay labor wage without doing work. Does that help the village? They are even suffering from shortage of funds. Now, if you're paying labor wage without doing work, how do you even raise the money for the machine? The case tells us that they don't even have enough funds to construct concrete roads. Samuel says should be stopped. The work should stop. I didn't get it. Okay. I see most people are trying to think about the situation and be creative about it. Let me share what I have and then see how it compares, how you compare it with what you have. And one of the things he could have tried meeting with panchayat heads of adjoining villages in order to seek their advice on this regard. Did he try to meet with the panchayat heads of the neighboring villages? He did not. See, he would have, that is something he did not do, that he would have done. He would have tried to meet with the panchayat heads of adjoining, neighboring villages in order to seek their own advice. Rahul says, tell them to start the work, tell them that help from machine is on the way. But Rahul, you know that they're scared. If you were there, Rahul, are you sure you would have gone into that swamp, that marshy ground? Necessary evil. Rahul, that's something interesting, Let's see what Munachin Joe says, video record. He did that. That's true. He did that, George. You remember? He recorded work at the site. That was creative. He did that. So it's not new. Let's see what Elaine says. He should have first shared his idea with all concerned and get their okay. Well, that's true. And after that, he should have, then before starting the project. Okay, that's good. That's very true. Let's see the next point that I have and see how you can fit it with your thoughts as well. He could have made security arrangements that the project site through the use of materials such as thick ropes one end, just very funny, one end of the rope is tied to a tree and then the other end around the waist of the worker on the site. At least this would have been a bit, to help the situation. Everybody was scared. So it is jude as well. When you go into the jude and it makes everybody to think creatively, right? So you can also think creatively, come up with different ideas. Of course, he's telling us that the jude is good, so we also have to think out of the box. This is some security stuff. Yeah, Pio says it means he did not study the project. That is true. And it's because he doesn't have a formal management education. You have a formal management education. The first thing you would do in such a situation is study the project first. Go on the ground, look at the situation. The fact that he did not even know that the ground was marshy is already a failure on his side. You get it? Yeah, the fact that he did not know that the ground was marshy is a failure on his side. It means he did not study the project. He would have gone down there, examined the place, look at the place very well before even doing the paperwork. So that's lack of planning. That's good. He would have planned. Now you're talking. That is najat. That's good. He lacked planning. He did not plan. Oh, I'm happy. I think everybody is coming now on track. And let's see what Nixon says. Why he didn't try to manage authority to use Droza. Are you asking a question? Or you're saying he would have tried to manage authority? Okay, he would have tried to manage. So what do you mean by Droza? I'm listening. And equipment with chains. Okay, so because he did not prepare very well, he did not plan, he did not study the project, that is why he did not know what he was going to use and what the potential bulldozer. Okay, that's okay. That's bulldozer is what you're trying to say. Okay, let's look at the next point that I have. Something very simple he would have done, but he did not do. Also, instead of communicating through letters with government officials, he could have personally visited them to inquire about alternative courses of action on the matter. You get it? He sent a couple of letters and he didn't get any response and he just sat. He would have gone to that authority and find out what are the different alternatives. Explain the situation. He did a very wonderful job to video record work at the site. He would have taken the video as evidence to present it at the office to the government officials and tell them how dangerous the whole situation was. But he did not do that. We're not well organized. Yeah, that's fine. Of course, now we understand why this is happening because of lack of formal management education. So I believe that if any of you find yourself in a similar situation, you're going to be a better manager, isn't it? Okay, Pio says, as long as he is in charge of it, he needs to come up with alternatives. Yeah, he's trying to come up with alternatives. That is what the case tells us. But again, it's pretty tough for him. Alternative, not the government officials. Now, the government officials are there, First of all, they do not approve the use of heavy machines. But again, they say except in a very difficult, impossible case. But they are not there to see the case themselves. They are not there to see the danger of the work site. So it would have been difficult for them to understand what's happening at the site. So going to the government officials was to convince them to approve the use of the heavy machine. And definitely that would have been cost effective. He would have he would bring his area MP or MLA to see the obstacles. Yeah, that's possible. You know, going there, explaining the situation, maybe somebody would have come over to survey the place, and then it would have been easier for him to obtain the fund to get a heavy machine to do the cleanup. And let's see what he failed to conduct study and convince the official. Well, that's something he failed. That's very true. Pio. And let's see what Najat says. He could not present the situation to the official. Yeah, that's something he failed as well. He sent them a couple of letters, but he didn't get any response. So rather than just sitting, it wouldn't have cost him anything to go to the official's office and then seek an audience, explain the whole situation, use the videos, you know, present it to them. I think it would have been a better way to approach the situation. And a leader needs to be proactive. Yeah, he is proactive, but what he's lacking is the right skills, I think. Because at the end of the day, he came up with solutions. But again, it would have been easier solutions if he was, you know, he had the necessary skills, which is what we're trying to develop as well. Experience, some will say he could follow up the government officials. Yeah, he could follow it up. Again, following up how? Through letters, some more letters. Yeah, proper planning, fund requirement. Yeah, he lacked managerial skill to an extent. And okay, Theo says next project he will do well. Let's hope so. Let's hope so he does well in the next project. I think this case, this situation happened in 2011. And so it's not very far from here. If you go to that place, I'm sure you're definitely going to see it. If you go to Sitara, not far away from what they call, I don't know the names of these villages very well. So it's near Agra. So if you go there, you're definitely going to see that particular site we're talking about now. So all these are real situations that are documented. So the cases we are going to discuss in our classes, in our sessions, are real life situations that have been documented. And if you go there, you'll be able to see everything we have discussed as it is. You'll be able to see Sohan Lal. I don't know if he's still alive now, but I hope so. You'll be able to see the site. The people are going to be able to tell you exactly what happened on the side, about the ponds, about the hand pumps and stuff like that. Now, I'm going to send you a case on which I promised you about oral care in India. It's a very interesting case. Very, very interesting, of course, I should emphasize. And it's a real test for your ability to, no, I'm not going to say this, because if I say this now, it's going to help you in your analysis of the case. So tomorrow morning, I'll forward the case to the coordinator of web classes to send copies to everyone. So if you don't get the case by tomorrow, say midday, you can send an email. I think I gave the email to you yesterday. You can send an email and request a copy of the case. Then we're going to discuss the case on Wednesday. But again, please, I'm giving the case early because I realize that when I give a case a day before or the same day, some hours before, not everybody gets the chance to go through the case, which makes it very difficult for us when we come together in the evening. Again, I'll advise everybody to go through the same case, the Sitara case, take a second look, go closer to it, examine what Sohanlal does, look at the circumstances around which he was operating, and then appreciate what he did. Learn something from someone who never had the chance you have to go through formal management training, and even more to that, who never had the chance to do case studies like we're doing, learning from different companies and other projects so we don't make the same mistakes. He never had this chance, yet he successfully managed the village affairs. So that's something wonderful. But again, we're always looking at things because there is a better way to do it. So that is why we're discussing it, how we do it better. Now, the case you're going to receive tomorrow is a very sensitive case, but I'd like you to put your sentiment aside, look at it very critically, and then you come up with, the question is, please take down the question for the case of Wednesday. The question is, what would be your marketing strategy to sell oral care products in India? What would be your marketing strategy to sell oral care products in India based on the case? Don't bring information that is not in the case. Use only information that is in the case. I have a copy of the case here with me. So please try to use only information that is provided in the case. Yeah, I'm supposed to be in Abu Dhabi on the 6th of October. Is that a Wednesday? No, it should be a Monday, isn't it? Okay, the question again is for you to come up with a marketing strategy how you would sell oral care products in India based on this case. So I'm going to send a copy of the case to you tomorrow. If you don't get it by midday, you can send an email to the coordinator and request a copy. So I hope that this case made some of you to think differently like managers, and I hope that by the time we are done with the program, many people become better managers and be more productive and help in their organizations and villages and neighborhoods. Okay. Is there any questions so far up to this point? Or are there any questions? Yeah, thank you too very much. Okay, that's great. So again, I hope the case was good. It has helped us to start thinking like managers, and I hope that by the time we are done with all my sessions and all the cases, we'll be able to have real experience. This is like we're already working. It's like we're already out there getting a lot of experience from these people. Okay, so thank you very, very much. And I look forward to bringing lots of different materials to you, and so we can become better at what we do. So thank you, good night, and have a wonderful evening. Yeah, bye. I have a copy